Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Taylor's gone! Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this post-stormy Thursday. How are things up in Fort Wayne? I guess all the things kind of died when they made it up that way, didn't they? Or did they?
They had a couple, I think they called radar indicated tornadoes up this way, but we survived. It was just probably mostly wind and, of course, the beating rain that it hit us with on a crazy for, I would say, a good hour. That was the crazy thing up here. It seemed to just kind of come over us and stop. So we got a lot of rain. One of my dogs doesn't do great when there's thunderstorms in the air. So he had a rough night, man. He was hiding in the basement. He was like, I'm going down there. I don't like the feel of this. So he kind of gave us a little bit of warning, because when it gets real bad, I don't know what it is about dogs. They just have this sixth sense about it, and he takes off and runs to the basement when he thinks it's really bad. So
They don't want nothing to do with it, baby.
They don't want nothing to do with it, man.
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with that. Indiana football we're right in the heart of spring practice right now, kind of right in the center spot. The spring game comes up. What is today's date? I don't even remember.
Today's the 3rd.
I am that lost.
So let's see, this is April 3rd, and they're going
to move my calendar. I've got to flip that thing over. So
yeah,
1, 2, 3.
They're doing it on the 17th.
No, it's 17th or 27th.
Oh well, see, here we're both sitting here don't know what we're talking about.
Well, I know it's on a Thursday.
17th.
I'm gonna go with 17th because the 17th is on a Thursday and the 27th is not. So there you go.
There you go.
We're a couple of weeks away from the spring game. Now, of course, we cannot.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah, Indiana with a big time loss already, and this is not something that happened to them last year. They did lose an offensive lineman in fall camp, Drew Evans.
Oh, no, that wasn't Drew Evans. It was the kid that came from James Madison.
Yeah, I can't
think anyway. There was 30 of them, so I can't think of them.
But they didn't have anything this early, and this is just a freak deal. It was a non-contact injury, and oh my gosh! Not only that, he was going to be a valuable part of that offense, but luckily, with having it happen at this time, luckily for Indiana, not for the player, but they can go into the portal and find somebody to fill that spot.
Yeah, I think, again, we've talked about this evaluational aspect of why you have spring football, and here's a prime example why. Unfortunately for Tyler, he loses the year. That's just, like you said, this is the second time that a non-contact injury has resulted in Indiana losing a kid for an entire year. Tyler Morris, and then you've got Tyler Cherry, who did it at the end of the season during Notre Dame. So I want to know what non-contact drills they're doing that is ultimately leading to them blowing out. So,
well, it's actually, you just think back to Teddy Bridgewater. I use that excuse all the time. That dude shredded his knee, and all he was doing was a non-contact dropping back to throw the ball drill. And he was out for, I think, 2.5 seasons. So it's just a freak deal. You hit something at the wrong way at the wrong time, and whatever happens. But and Teddy Bridgewater, when he was with the Vikings, I believe, had that happen to him, and it was unbelievable. But again, hopefully Indiana can replace that, because right now they're in really good position with everything else across the board. And people might say, well, that's just one spot. Yeah, but when you're looking to elevate everything and you have one of those guys that will help elevate that, it's a blow.
And I was there. I got my mic. It was all crazy. Fixing my mic. Yeah, it is. It's a huge blow, but like you said, you get a chance to go into the portal if need be. So they're going to evaluate what they've got. They're a little thin now at wide receiver for the rest of spring. So they're moving some bodies around to, just get through the practice portal of it. And so Coach Signetti will make an evaluation of the young guys, if any of them are potentially ready to step into a role that may not result in them going to the portal, or if there's somebody in the portal that is available at wide receiver, you say, we just can't let that kid go. We need him irregardless of what position he's in. So I hate it for Tyler Morris. Here's a kid coming from Michigan, very highly touted, going to be a guy that gave IU some speed on the outside, and you lose him to a non-contact drill, which that in itself just frustrates the heck out of you, because you do all these things for protecting kids, and you do a drill, maybe a cut drill he was doing, and he took a plant and planted the wrong way, and he blows his knee out.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate. But I shouldn't say but. He will have another year of eligibility unless he has burned a redshirt year already, and I'm not deep enough into his.
Yeah, well, he'll have the option to do what the offensive lineman had to do, is maybe come back for that medical waiver year, or if he feels he's ready to go to the NFL, he'll go to the NFL. But
and it must be pretty serious to be out for the season now. That's a pretty substantial injury, because in this day and age, ACL tears and whatnot that used to be serious surgery is now not nearly that bad. And you would have thought that with this much time, he could have made it back in the season, but they're either just shutting him down and holding him, or it's a pretty severe injury.
Well, you look at Tyler Jerry, he did it way back against in Notre Dame, and we don't even know if he'll be back for fall camp yet or not. There's some debate there on that aspect of things, but usually with knees, you're talking at least 6 to 9 months to recovery. It takes about a year to get back to feeling like yourself. So it's a tough thing, and you hate it because of football being such a 12-game season at most, and you just don't have the time to get kids back, especially when they blow their knee out.
Yeah, and now they'll have to go in and not only replace him right now with the offense, but replace him in a permanent fashion as they go forward. But again, they're in good shape. But that's why you have to have developed depth. And that's something that this football team is still building, still working on, is depth at every position. Now, wide receiver, although he was a slot receiver, the receiving room is pretty good, but he was really good at his spot.
Oh yeah, he was a top tier kid. He was a top tier kid at Michigan, and They were placed, hoping that he was going to be a guy that could come in here and replace Miles and, all the guys that, have graduated with one body, which I think they would have been able to do that. But, and you heard Coach Signetti talking about Monday when he talked about depth. He talked about developing depth, and that's the time that this is the time to do it. He talked about the offensive line and how much their depth has improved. It's not where they want it to be than it was his first year here. So it's always a battle on the depth issue, making sure you have the bodies at the position. And, because if you lose one, man, that security blanket of having two goes away real quick. And so that's why you got to have 2 to 3 guys ready to step in to a role that they may not be technically ready for, but athletically and physically, they fit the bill for what you need to have to play at the Big Ten level.
Yeah, and Indiana is definitely there. And I've seen people something came out that Indiana had an easy schedule next year. And I'm like, first of all, the stupidity of anybody talking about anything like that right now is idiotic. There is no way you can do any kind of a top 25 that has any meaning to it. None. Nobody knows what these teams are truly like right now. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at last season's preseason top 25, look at the postseason top 25 and see what you see. These preseason top 25s are just to get people to read. And I get it, but it's stupid. So I'm telling you, don't fall under that. It's stupid. Yeah. You don't know what Indiana's going to be like. You don't know what Auburn's going to be like. You know what they have, but I'm pretty sure everybody thought Alabama was going to kick the ever-loving crap out of everybody last year. Well, guess what? Didn't happen. They thought this and that. They didn't think Indiana was going to be last in the Big Ten. Guess what? Think again. So you've got to let this stuff play out. Indiana is in the mix. That's the thing. They are going to be a participant. Now, as far as their schedule being easy, that's a joke.
Yeah,
your first Big Ten game, although it's at home, is against Illinois. But then you go on the road to an Iowa team that I think is going to fight for a CFP spot. Then you go to Oregon that we know is going to be fighting for a CFP spot. Later, you go to Penn State, who also will be fighting for a CFP spot. So how this is an easy schedule, beyond me. This is just more of the same crap that we heard last year. But this is worse because I'm like, no, stop. You're going to Iowa, Penn State, and Oregon. Shut it. Just shut it.
Absolutely. I mean, the schedule is, it is what it is on the schedule. Everybody gets too caught up on the non-conference games, and then everybody gets caught up on who are you playing and who you aren't playing. Well, that's that's just having 18 teams in a conference, and you're not going to play every team. So, Indiana's going to fight this for ever. And when it comes to last season and into this season, and they'll have an excuse as to why or why not. And that's just the way it is when you're trying to get respectability, when you're fighting, years and years of not having it. So best thing to do is, say very little and let the season get going before you evaluate who is or who isn't a contender.
Yeah, Kurt Signetti is known for saying very little.
He don't say too much, but when he does say, people listen. What is that E.F. Hutton commercial? He's like E.F. Hutton. When he talks, people listen.
I don't know if I'd say he says very little. You stick a microphone in his face and he's going to talk, but he's not. I think that this season you'll see similar behavior, but now there's the confidence, the real confidence. Last year was the self-confidence of him and his staff having done what they had done previously. Now you come into a year where you did it in the Big Ten. You made the college football playoffs. You shocked the college football world. So I think that it may be muted a little bit, but it's going to be built on confidence of having done it.
Absolutely. And, Kirk said, like Kirk said, he said, last year, this is a completely different team. This is a completely different mentality. He talks about never being comfortable. He made a comment about that in the post, presser the other day about I'm never comfortable, and that has to do with he doesn't rest on what they did last year, and he won't let the kids either. Just because you had success doesn't guarantee you're going to have success this year. And I guarantee you this, there's no Big Ten team that's going to take Indiana lightly, because
hell no.
Nebraska found out about that real quick, and Washington found about that real quick, and we can go right down the line. So
Indiana's going to have a target on its back next year.
Yeah, they'll have a bullseye this year. There's no question they're going to have a bullseye. Even though they may not be considered the top of the heap, they're going to have a bullseye on them because of their success last year and people thinking we've got to knock them down a peg or two. So he'll have plenty of motivation, chip on shoulder, for the kids about talking explicitly about that fact and that fact alone, respectability, earning it, maintaining it, and doing it with a fast, physical, relentless mentality for the entire 2025 season, and understand that no one game is going to make the season, but you're going to have a bullseye on you for the entire year.
Absolutely. Coach Shannon Griffith from theHoosier.com.
That's right.
Joining us now. Make sure you go to theHoosier.com, get yourself a subscription, theHoosier.com On3, as you are going to find constant content, inside information, in addition to Shannon's podcast and much, much more. In addition to the basketball coverage, Alec Lasley and Kyler Staley both out at the Chipotle Nationals last night, and tons of content up there right now. They have got a special going. It's $1 for the first month, half price for the entire year.
Yeah,
so $5 a year or a month, people. Go support theHoosier.com so they can continue to bring you that coverage. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you as always.
My man. Talk to you next week.
We'll do it again later. Hey, that is going to wrap it up. Big thanks to everyone for joining us on the program today, especially you. We can't do it without you. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Todd Leary, Zach Osterman, Alec Lasley, and more. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on theHoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio. Hello, everyone. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to theHoosier.com On3. Now with On3 and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football. Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side. And the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at theHoosier.com. Go there, sign up today.